Let's begin with the MPC's press briefing today. Rising government expenditure and revenue threats have forced the Bank of Ghana to keep its policy rate unchanged at 16%. Speaking to journalists in Accra, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, maintained that it might be prudent to hold the rate because of recent developments. JoyNews was there for Joy Business and has the rest of the story.
Addressing journalists today, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana maintained that looking at all these developments, the right thing to do is to keep the policy rate at 16%.
The committee was concerned about continued revenue weakness, which requires expenditure adjustments to contain a larger than projected budget deficit. It will help underpin investor confidence in the Ghanaian economy and reduce the burden on monetary policy.
The Statistical Service recently rebased the inflation rate by 7.8%. So it was the expectation of everyone that the Monetary Policy Committee will respond to this by cutting the policy rate. But the governor maintained that he also wanted to observe things before he reacts to these developments on the economy.
I think first we've just seen the 7.8 new measurement coming in. We need to understand what all of that means. We need to look at the history, use the new basket to reconstruct the history and be able to tell where we are.
On the Ghana city, the governor maintained that they have what it takes to actually stabilize things on the market, and investors shouldn't be worried about the recent forecast by the Economic Intelligence Unit that the city could depreciate further.
We think that we have relatively strong buffers. At the end of the day, it depends on the buffers that you have. Normally in August, September, the central bank reserves will be at its lowest point. This year, our reserves are fairly strong in August and September, even before the cocoa 1.3 billion inflows come in. So if anything at all, we are in a better position to deal with any adverse shocks to the exchange rate.
On the banking crisis, this is what the governor had to say. That he believes that the cleanup has been completed and things should stabilize going forward.
Now, the reason that we said that we see some improved confidence, it's relative, is the development in the deposits of the banking sector. When I was reading the press release, we gave you what had happened in terms of deposit mobilization by the bank. So if you see increased deposits of the banking sector, that in itself indicates that people are putting more money in the banks.
Businesses have in recent times complained that credit has been bad, but the governor believed that it is just a matter of time that the commercial banks will start responding by dropping their interest rates, thereby ensuring that this could be a thing of the past.
The only sticky point is the case of NIB, where the capital requirements appear to be larger than we had originally envisaged. So obviously NIB is a bank that we need to do some more work on. But remember, it is a state bank, so the considerations are very different.
Well, for some, the governor has said it all with respect to the outlook for the economy and how he expects things to look like going forward. Some may say that could bring some assurance to the market and ensure that interest rates come down, since the Bank of Ghana's main focus is about inflation targeting to ensure that inflation are kept at a lower level and the interest rates are also quite low. Well, we'll wait to see whether the market will indeed respond to some of the assurances that is given out here today. From the high street here in Accra, this is JoyNews reporting for Joy Business.
All right, thank you very much, George. Let's now get some reactions from economic analyst Toma Emir. Thanks for your time tonight on this program, Business Live. Do you think it was a good move by the central bank to keep the rate at 16%? All right, so we've lost Toma on the line, but thankfully we spoke to him earlier on. These are his thoughts.
Remember what caused the most recent exits? The most recent financing problems government had was the last time they reduced the rate. Was that in January or so? All right. And you remember the governor alluded to it here, that because we are still vulnerable in terms of the mix of foreign investors holding on to our domestic debt securities, we don't want a situation where you reduce the rates and because of that they now exit and we start having financing problems. Right now, the monetary policy rate is actually being dictated largely by our exposure to foreign investors who are still holding on to about 26% of our domestic debt, if you go by what the governor said. Even it's come down from a peak of 36% in terms of their holdings. It's come down to 26%, but that's still quite a lot. George, that's more than a quarter of our domestic debt in issuance. All right. Now, what they're afraid of is that if you lower the rates, and when foreign investors now look at the yield on Ghana's debt securities, of course, it's much higher than what obtains in their home country. But then again, there's a very heavy exchange risk here. Our records are not very good, especially when you're heading towards elections. So if they look at that and decide that they want to retreat to quality, so to say, especially with all these geopolitical tensions going on, you notice that investors are already retreating back to gold and silver as safe haven in this kind of situation. So imagine what happened. Investors now start retreating towards gold because they feel that Ghana has reduced the competitiveness of its yields. All right, that's if you reduce the monetary policy rate and yields actually and interest rates generally go down, and people now feel that Ghana's the yields on investments in Ghana are less competitive than before, especially at the time that people are retreating to quality in terms of gold because of the current economic situation. They start having financing problems.
But one critical thing the governor raised, which I think that it confirms what the Economic Intelligence Unit has also said, was about the fact that they are afraid of some overruns as well. And the governor is talking about the fact that he's not convinced about expenditure outlook and its impact on revenue.
In fact, what you said, the governor said explicitly, said that if the fiscal situation had been all right, they would have reduced the rates. The fact is that we're having a fiscal overrun, all right? And that, as the governor said, that was the deciding factor about.
Well, away from that, insurance companies are being urged to develop more innovative products to get many people interested in taking up insurance policies. According to President of the Ghana Insurers Association, Aretha Doku, this will help grow the country's declining insurance penetration level. President of the association, Madame Doku, made the call at the launch of the QIC Go Girl policy.
The 2018 report of the National Insurance Commission revealed that Ghana's insurance penetration rate had dropped from a previous rate of 1.12% to 1%. According to the president of the Ghana Insurers Association, Aretha Doku, there's therefore a need for more innovation in the insurance sector to boost penetration levels.
When you want to differentiate yourself, we more invariably rely on service delivery as a differentiator. So when they come up with such an idea, a product that has all the hallmarks of what today's woman will want in motor, we say kudos to them, and we know this would help. This is innovation at its very best. At the same time, the Ghana Insurance Association is also doing its bit for insurance penetration. You've heard the campaign that we've been talking about, our 13-week drive time with insurance campaign, which is to start on the 24th of September. We're hoping this will bring home to insurance, to all the household as to what the importance of insurance and the good things about insurance, and more or less maybe let people understand that insurance is not as bad as sometimes it has been portrayed to be.
The president of the Ghana Insurers Association was speaking at the launch of the QIC Go Girl motor insurance policy designed to bring comfort to women when insuring their vehicles. Kobna Addison is the managing director of QIC.
Benefits that women stand to get from Go Girl insurance policies. First and foremost, you get a courtesy car when you're involved in an accident. We service your car once a year for you, and we facilitate your driver license renewal at the Prestige DVLA Center. Cost for Go Girl, it depends on the value of your car. It depends on the value of your car. What we will tell you is that it will not be any expensive than your standard policy.
For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
Government says it feels vindicated by a recent report by the Economist Intelligence Unit on the management of the economy. The September report noted that this administration could win the next elections because of its handling of the economy. It, however, raised concerns about possible budget overruns this year. Speaking to Joy Business, Deputy Minister of Finance Abnao Sayasari said measures have already been instituted to deal with any potential overruns.
And it is obvious. We inherited a government or an economy that had missed a lot of the IMF targets that they themselves set with the IMF. Here we are, 2-3 years down the line, we are out of the IMF, and then we have put checks and balances in place to see to it that we don't go back to, the IMF. One is with the Fiscal Responsibility Act, where we have Parliament has passed a law that we can't go beyond 5% of our deficit. All these things helps us, puts us in check. Secondly, we have formed partnership, that's the social partnership with labor, employers and governments. That here we are, we believe we can be our own IMF, we can act as a check on ourselves. Let us come up with targets and policies that together we will work to achieve this. And once we achieve this, we believe we can be our own IMF, we can act as a check on ourselves. And finally, the Ghana Beyond Aid transformation that government is looking to achieve. One, through industrialization, agric, and all these things, certainly in the long run, will put Ghana's economy in a better position. And so it is this government, that's the MPP government headed by the President Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is spearheading these things. So certainly in the long run, things are going to be better.
Finally, before we leave, the GDP estimate growth. Yesterday, we had good figures from there. We realized the services sector was driving up massively. Do you think there should be an over-concentration in the services sector to do well in the coming years and leave out the other sectors?
I think that there should be a balance, and that is why, like my minister said, that the 2020 budget is going to be on industrialization, because after growing the services sector, we would need to industrialize to firm things up. We cannot only depend on the services sector. One, we're already working on the agric sector through the Plan for Food and Jobs. Thankfully, the whole of last year, Ghana didn't import maize as a result of this policy that has come in and has increased yield so much. And so 2020 is going to focus on industrialization, just like my minister said. So there should be a balance.
You're watching Business Live. Now, settler farmers in the Western North region are said to be encroaching on forest reserves in their quest to expand their cocoa farms. Forest reserves, including Bia and Krokosua, are gradually being lost to cocoa farming at the expense of crop cultivation amid climate change concerns. Ghana in 2017 committed to producing deforestation-free cocoa under the Cocoa Forest Initiative, but merchants are unable to strictly monitor adherence due to absence of a digital map for the purpose. Nanaya Ojima traveled to Dwaboso Forest District to investigate the situation as well as some government interventions to halt deforestation.
Abrakofe and Bonzain are communities sitting on the flanks of the Krokosua Hills Forest Reserve. Cocoa farming is the major agricultural activity for residents. Nana Ewabafo owns 4 separate cocoa farms.
For my 4 farms, I could get at least 75 bags, but in recent years, I struggled to get 20 bags. Deforestation is a factor.
In 2011, Ghana produced 1 million tons of cocoa, the highest in the country's history. Production has since dropped despite efforts to leverage earnings from the commodity. Statistics from business data platform Statista shows a steady rise in cocoa production to 900,000 tons in 2018 and 2019 year from 740,000 tons in 2014-2015. Even though government intervention contributed to the rise, illegal expansion of admitted farms is fingered as a contributing factor. Forest researcher Ruth Mallison speaks of the dangers deforestation poses to climate change.
As I pointed out, they are the lungs of the earth, but they also are very important in terms of moderating climate. If we continue to cut down the rainforest at the same rate that we are doing, it will contribute to climate change.
Consumers of cocoa products across the world are shunning from cocoa produced from farms contributing to deforestation, forcing cocoa buyers to take key interest in the issue. Frank Ochre is compliance supervisor in charge of environment at Kuyapa Cocoa.
That every farmer within Kuyapa Cocoa who is registered is mapped, has all his or her farms mapped. That is one. And then we will superimpose that on the national maps of the protected areas to ensure that our farmers don't do that. And we are even trying to support our farmers, in fact, improve upon their soil so that the land that they are already cultivating, they will intensify their production, okay, instead of going into even forests.
The Forestry Commission is partnering Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology on ways to restore depleting forest reserves. Together with other 5 African countries, the Forest 2020 project seeks to restore up to 300 million hectares of tropical forests. The Forest 2020 project is being financed by United Kingdom Space Agency through University of Edinburgh, University of Leicester and Carbomap. The project, partly financed by Ecometrica, is adopting modern technology to map tropical forests. Dr. Winston Adams Asante is a lecturer at the Department of Silviculture and Forest Management at KNUST.
So one of the good things we explored under Forest 2020 is to pursue freely available imagery, remote sensing, and see how we can turn them around and then use it to separate cocoa from forest and go beyond that to also separate agroforestry cocoa from monoculture cocoa, which then provides a strong basis to now detect encroachment into the forested areas.
Periodically, the map will be reviewed to track changes in land use. Mohammed Yakubu is head of mapping and GIS unit of the Forestry Commission.
Tutron or any other company hooks onto the EU lab platform, they will see where the cocoa farms are. If the cocoa farms where he's buying his beans is coming from the forest, the map will show.
Now, even though export of non-traditional goods shot up by some 34% in 2018, the agricultural subsector contributed 21% to the country's total non-traditional export earnings. Now, according to the CEO of Henderson, an agriculture export company, Henry Addo, more can be done by local farmers if farmers are trained in using best farming practices. Speaking to Joy Business at the back of Ghana Export Promotion Authority 2018 report on non-traditional export, Mr. Addo said demand for yam is huge and only problem faced is post-harvest losses, which can be tackled with some education. There is more in this report.
According to the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, the agricultural subsector recorded $591,036 million in 2018 through exports. This depicts an increase of 34.04% from the 2017 figure. Out of the agricultural food baskets that contributed to this gain, cashew nuts, banana, shea nuts, yams and rice recorded the least amount of $4,199,509 from the list of foods indicated in the 2018 Ghana Export Promotion Authority report. Yam exports saw a 1.23% growth in 2018. According to the CEO of Henderson Limited, Henry Addo, yam export has seen a significant improvement over the years. In his view, yam farmers need more education on planting and fertilizer application to ensure the produce lasts long for export.
Spoilage is one thing that we need to tackle. So of late, we have registered about some 2,000 farmers. That belongs to my association called Seafreight Yam Exporters Association. So they produce the yam. The spoilage all comes from the fertilizer that they apply. So we have trained the farmers such a way that they will know how to apply the fertilizer to keep the yams very safe. The yam farmers to come together as a team. Okay, we have some people who have been training, who will be training them how to plant it, how to use the fertilizer, how to do it. You see, when you get it that way, I think the business will be safe. You can't just wake up just like that to go and plant your yams. No, we need to have some technical knowledge about it.
He believes the African Continental Free Trade Area provides vast opportunities for local farmers to produce more to penetrate the African markets.
I know that Costa Rica and Brazil also export yams, but the difference is our yam is very premium. Our yam, they export only white yam. And now of late, I think Nigeria also has jumped in, which, yes, they also have a white yam, not as Ghana yam as Puna. So our yams is very premium. So wherever it goes, we have a price for it.
And that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Darryl Kwao. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Enjoy your weekend.